The movie opens with a woman in her 20s walking alone at night. As she walks through the city, we see a poster for a missing woman plastered on a wall. As the woman continues to make her way through an alleyway, a guy comes up behind her and asks her if she dropped her wallet. The woman answers no and tries to walk faster, but the man runs after her and grabs her. The woman then tries to fight him off as he is trying to force himself on her, but he is too strong. Then, out of nowhere, another woman named Lacey attacks the man and she tells her to run away. After that, we only hear the man scream as he gets brutally killed by Lacey. The next morning, Detective Charlie Godfrey arrives at the office a little late. He has been losing sleep working on a human trafficking case, and even though he has solid suspects, he hasn't been able to actually arrest anyone. He also seems to be the only one that cares about the missing women, as everyone else had already given up. Charlie leaves work early again and goes to a factory district to follow a lead. As he is waiting at a parking lot, he sees one of his suspects, Tom, passing by him. He then watches as Tom enters a building and starts taking pictures. Meanwhile, Lacey is sleeping in the alleyway beside the building and she gets woken up by her friend Joe. He tells her the man she has been looking for has just entered the building, so she rushes to the building and breaks the door's lock and enters it. Inside one of the rooms of the building, Tom is playing Russian roulette with an innocent dog. Jerry is live streaming the game on the dark web and people are betting on it. Tom is very scared to play the game, but since it is for a lot of money, he takes the first shot on the dog. Nothing happens, so next he puts the gun on himself and takes another shoot. Again, nothing happens. He then points his gun to shoot at the dog, but before he can do it, Lacey comes from behind and attacks him. Tom shoots at her head, but she shrugs it off and she kills him by sticking her hands in his eyes and pushing her hand further until she reaches his brain. You see, Lacey has superhuman abilities, not just that she is super strong and can kill people with her fingers, but she also doesn't die from getting shot and her wounds heal very fast. Jerry, seeing how she just killed Tom, runs away to get back up, and while he does that, Lacey cuts off Jerry's fingers and leaves the scene. Charlie, who has seen her breaking the door and getting in, sees her getting out, so he tries to talk to her as she goes out, but she ignores him and walks away. He then enters the building himself and he hears Tom telling his boss Terrence about what Lacey just did. He waits outside until they leave and sees what she did to Tom for himself. Back at the alleyway, we see Lacey eating the fingers of Tom like a person would eat chips. She sees a shadowy figure watching her, but it disappears once she notices him. Later that night, Charlie is back at his apartment trying to make sense of what he saw. He's seen that Lacey had a headshot wound, but she seemed okay. He also seen what she did to Tom, but he knows no one is going to believe him back at the precinct, so he keeps it to himself. Meanwhile, Terrence meets up with his sister and crime partner Meredith. He shows her the live stream of Lacey killing Tom. Terrence thinks if they can find Lacey, then they can sell her to the highest bidder. Meredith is the one that mainly runs the human tracking business, so she can find a buyer for Lacey, but she is not convinced that Lacey would have survived the gunshot wound, so she tells Terrence to focus on the 6 new girls she has just brought in. The next morning, Charlie goes to the alleyway and finds Lacey. He tells her he just wants to talk, and they go to her favorite diner to discuss. He asks her why she took Tom's fingers, and she tells him because she wanted to eat him. She tells him fingers are easier to carry, and she also likes the taste of the bone marrow. Charlie is disturbed and confused by her answers, but continues his question. He asks her why she killed Tom, and she tells him her first choice was actually the boss Terrace. But since Tom was about to kill a dog, she had to eat him. Charlie's main suspect for his human trafficking investigation is Terrence and his sister, but he still hasn't been able to catch them in the act, so he asks her to work with him. He takes her to a spare apartment he had and tells her she can live there, and now she will also be able to save her food so it won't spoil before she eats it. He then gives her the pictures of all his suspects and asks her to go after them and kill them. Charlie doesn't believe he's going to get these criminals, so he offers a place to stay in exchange for Lacey to kill them. Lacey agrees, and later that day, she goes to one of the suspects, Paul's apartment. He knocks on his door, and as soon as he opens, she attacks him and snaps his head. She then gets ambushed by Paul's friend and gets stabbed multiple times, but that doesn't hurt her, and she kills him easily too. She then turns to see a woman named Susie handcuffed, and she doesn't know what to do with her, so she leaves the apartment and calls Charlie to tell him about the situation. Charlie tells her to release the woman and go back home. Lacey then returns to the apartment and uncuffs Susie. Susie is terrified of Lacey as she has just seen her stabbed multiple times, but when she sees she's not attacking her, she quickly becomes very friendly and starts asking a lot of questions. Lacey becomes annoyed with her, so she gives her the contact of Charlie and tells her to just go away. But Susie doesn't listen, and she follows her to the diner and continues her question. She asks her if she is a superhero, to which Lacey answers no. Susie then asks when Lacey got her powers, and Lacey reveals she has been this way for centuries. This means she is practically immortal, but she also reveals that she has 2 wounds in her back that she doesn't remember getting, but that have been since her existence. After dinner, Susie follows Lacey back to her apartment, since she also doesn't have a place to sleep. And while Susie is in the bathroom, Lacey starts hearing noises, and the shadowy man figure again appears and disappears. This freaks out Lacey, and she orders Susie to leave the apartment right away. But when she comes back from taking a shower, she finds Susie sleeping on her couch. Meanwhile, Charlie goes to the apartment to clean up the crime scene, but Terrence, who has been trying to contact Paul, has also come to check on him, and they run into each other. Charlie then tries to grab his gun, but Terrence tackles him and knocks him out. Charlie is then taken to the criminal's hideout, and he wakes up tied up to a chair. Meredith greets him and randomly starts confessing about all her crimes. She knows Charlie is a detective, so she then tells him if the reason he is coming after them is because of his daughter that went missing almost 20 years ago, then he is wrong to come after them because they didn't kidnap his daughter. Charlie then reveals he knows that his daughter wasn't kidnapped and had actually just run away, and that he now knows where she lives, but he is too afraid to contact her. He tells her the reason he is coming after them is because they kidnap other young women and subject them to horrifying things. Meredith, seeing she is getting nowhere with him, invites Terrence in and leaves the room. Terrence then brings out his torturing materials and asks Charlie where Lacey is. The next morning, we see Lacey having a bad dream as scary noises whispering in her mind. She then wakes up from her sleep, hungry for blood. She sees Susie sleeping in front of her, so she slowly walks up to her and grabs her neck. Lacey's inner demons are trying to make her kill Susie, but she fights off her urges and runs out of her apartment. But on the ground, Terrence and his associate Dan are waiting for her. Terrence then hits her with a baseball bat, but she doesn't go down. She then asks him to hit her again, so he does it. She then asks him if he is trying to kidnap her, and when he responds yes, she offers to just come with him in peace. Terrence then looks at her and hits her head with the baseball bat one more time, knocking her out. He and Dan then drag the surprisingly heavy Lacey into their van and drive off. Susie has seen all of this from the apartment window, so she takes out Charlie's contact and tries to call him. She gets no response, so she then goes to the police station to ask if he is there. She talks to the receptionist and close friend of Charlie, Janice, but she tells her she also hasn't seen her. The police captain then tells her Charlie has been fired for not coming to work and tells her to leave the precinct. But before she leaves, Janice tells her to meet her in private, and they meet in Charlie's old office. Susie tells Janice that her friend is in trouble and that she was told Charlie would help her. She then shows Janice the pictures in the case file that Charlie gave to Lacey, and Janice immediately recognizes Terrence. She tells her Charlie has been going after him and gives her the location of the parking lot at the factory district. Meanwhile, Lacey wakes up tied up with multiple chains. Terrence has seen her strength, so he doesn't want to make any mistakes. Upstairs, Meredith is throwing a party for potential buyers, and she tells Terrence to bring out Lacey when the time is right. Terrence is excited to experiment on Lacey until the party starts, so he brings out his torturing materials and starts slowly torturing her. He stabs her multiple places and enjoys himself while she screams in pain. Susie arrives at the building, but she sees there is a doorman that is only letting people in that are on the list for the party. She then goes to the doorman and tells him she is a friend of Terrence and Meredith, and to her surprise that works, and she is let in. She then steals his keycard while he searches her for weapons and makes her way upstairs to the party. Most of the buyers have arrived and she blends in with them. She then sees Dan going downstairs the other way, so she sneakily follows him. He leads her right into where Charlie is kept, so she waits until he leaves and unchains Charlie. She and Charlie then go to the room where Lacey is getting tortured, and Susie opens the door and calls Lacey's name. Terrence then tells Dan to watch over Lacey while he goes after Susie, but as soon as he gets out of the room, he gets ambushed by Charlie and he and Susie try to restrain him. Meanwhile, Lacey sees her friends are in danger, so she starts breaking off her chains and takes out all the knives from her body. Dan, scared, tries to run away, but he can't escape her and she kills him. She then walks to Terrence and takes his head off his body. They then go upstairs to the party and Lacey throws Terrence's head at Meredith's feet. Panic breaks out in the party, and Meredith's bodyguards try to attack Lacey, but she easily takes them out and chases after Meredith. Meredith manages to run to the roof of the building, but Lacey follows her up and there is nowhere to run now. So Meredith decides to fight and actually does okay at first as she is a martial artist, but Lacey is still too strong and she kills her by throwing her off the building. Susie and Charlie arrive at the roof shortly after, and Susie gives Lacey a big hug. They then leave the area before the police arrive. The next day, Lacey and Charlie run into each other at the laundromat. They were both cleaning their bloody clothes. Charlie tells her he has finally decided to visit his daughter and they say their goodbyes. He then goes back to his apartment and finds a man going through his stuff. Charlie immediately takes out his gun and shoots the man on the head, but the bullet doesn't damage the man. The man then tells Charlie that the apocalypse is coming and that he needs his help to find a person. Meanwhile, Lacey is still in the laundromat and the shadowy man figure fully appears in front of her. Lacey asks him who he is and why he is following her, but he doesn't talk. She then says she remembers having a child but can't picture its face. She then apologizes for whatever she did in her past life and asks the figure when he is going to leave her alone. The movie then cuts to her walking back to her apartment and she finds the dog she saved from Tom waiting at her home. Then the movie ends as she pets the dog and takes him to her